what exactly is Subaru doing right now? So they have unveiled a new Subaru WRX STI. I don't know if I would call this an STI though. This feels like a very low effort attempt in trying to make, boost or boost the interest in the WRX. Because this to me, just if you compare this to for example, the 2020 model STI, which by the way is the STI that I would personally buy, it's a lot better looking. You still have the manual, thankfully. Like, why don't we have a manual in the new STI? It does not make sense. And it also has a more advanced all-wheel drive system. So this car right here, we're going to have a look at this. And I'm going to let you know exactly what I think about this. And try to figure out why Subaru decided to even put this in production. To me, it just does not make sense. We're going to have a look at the design from front, side, and front, rear, and the interior. I'm going to let you know what I would personally redesign on the front and also in the rear. I've reviewed the WRX and the 2020 STI on the Sketch Monkey channel, so I felt how both feel. I have not driven the new WRX with the CVT gearbox though, so maybe they worked some magic into this car and the CVT is just simply amazing, but the chances of that is very, very small. So before we jump into Photoshop, let's have a look at this article from Autoblog, and let's see what they did here with the new STI. So Subaru's new WRX STI is a paradox, and here's why from this article from Autoblog. I'm going to link it down in the description. This long-anticipated edition brings back the iconic STI badge for the latest WRX generation. However, there are some key caveats that reign on the excitement. It's only available in Japan, first of all, and production is capped at 500 units, and it comes exclusively with a CVT gearbox in an STI. Even if the WRX is available with a manual, the top of the line STI comes with a CVT. Like, what? How? How did they come to that conclusion? For many enthusiasts, the lack of manual transmission is the most significant blow, definitely. The S210 is the first S-Series STI to feature Subaru's performance transmission, a CVT designed for quicker shifts and smoother operation. And this is what I'm talking about. To me, I cannot see a CVT being more fun to drive, specifically in an STI than a manual. It doesn't matter what they did to the CVT to make it quicker and smoother. You want to have a manual in this car. The WRX STI S210 sports the same 2.4-liter turbocharged flat 4 as the standard WRX, but with enhancements like a revised intake, an upgraded exhaust system, and a tweaked ECU, and that puts it at 296 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque, just 25 horsepower more than the regular WRX. And if you remember the coolest WRX or STI of the last, I would say, 10 years or so, the S209, that had 341 horsepower, and this has barely 300 and 330 pound-feet of torque. Now, Subaru has equipped the S210 with electronically adjustable dampers, a new carbon rear spoiler. Thankfully, they finally put a spoiler on this car. 6-piston Brembo brakes and 19-inch BBS forged wheels. However, the absence of the advanced differential system typically found in STI models raises questions about its performance credibility. So, first of all, to start with, you have the CVT gearbox. You have less power than the previous S29, and it's lacking this advanced differential system that we usually find in STIs. And this is the reason why I'm saying that this feels like just a side project from Subaru, and they don't really have any pride in this car anymore. They just wanted to create something new to, keep the interest in the current WRX intact. So, interesting to see that they're only building 500 units and all of them are destined for Japan. We don't have a price for this yet, but it's probably going to be a pretty expensive car if it's only available in 500 units. Is it something that I would personally buy? Absolutely not. As I said, I would go with the 2020 STI with the manual transmission 100%. So let's jump into Photoshop here. Let's have a look at this design. Let's see what's going on and the changes that I would like to see here. So the styling overall, I think it looks great. I really like the black wheels in this case. Usually I'm not a fan of black wheels, but the BBS wheels that we have here, I definitely preferred the I think the 209 had a white 209 with sort of bronze wheels, and that looked great. Such a cool looking Subaru. This, again, still has, of course, the base design, the same similar design like we have on the regular WRX. The changes I wanted to make here in the front end, I like the chiselness of the front. Very chiseled design. You can see all the chamfers here. Beautiful looking grille as well. I think it looks clean, and I also like the lower intakes in this area because, as you can see, we have chamfers going around every single key graphics. We have this chamfer right here, for example. We have this chamfer going around the beautiful headlights. The changes I would like to see here is, I think, the headlights. If you look at the overall proportions of the key graphics in the front end, I always thought that the headlights of the new WRX, they just look too small. They're sort of too squinty for the overall face of the car. So I would want to have a little bit bigger headlights in the front end. But I think that's pretty much the only change I would like to do here. I think the front end is definitely where you want to look at the new WRX from, because the rear end is still sort of tricky for me. I like the air scoop that we have here, of course, this being very WRX STI alike to have the scoop in the hood. And we have fog lights down here, new BBS wheels looking great in black. I would also want to have these pieces right here, specifically in this STI version. I want to have these be in the body color, in this beautiful blue color, to make it a little bit more sporty and less of a, you know, sort of off-road vehicle with the black plastic around the wheel arches. Now, looking at the rear end, as I said, thankfully we finally have a proper wing in the back. I would want to see a more similar to what we had in the older STIs, where you have the wing itself with the fins on the side going into the trunk like this. And that is a wing that I would like to see. It could still be in carbon fiber. I think that would look more STI-like, even though I definitely appreciate the fact that they put a wing here. This is still carbon fiber, fully carbon fiber. You have these mounting brackets right here looking very industrial. And you also have the wiper in the back looking pretty interesting. That is something that I would definitely remove, because it doesn't make sense to have a wiper on a angled piece of glass like this. Now, the changes I wanted to make here is, if you look at the overall design, again, the key graphics here in the rear end, I sort of like the taillights. The taillights looks pretty good to me, because we have chamfers again going around the taillights here, framing every key graphic in the rear end. We also have this interesting LEDs inside of it, sort of like a sprinkled LEDs inside here. It looks very cool up close. I do like the black bar that we have going here. It sort of breaks up the height of the blue in the rear end. And but when it gets tricky for me is the lower section down here. Just have a look at this rear diffuser. How much it just feels like so much cheap plastic in the rear end. And it sticks up way too high up, and that is another reason why I prefer the 2020 STI, because we have a proper bumper, and the diffuser sticks up to this point. Still have quad tailpipes in the previous STI. The tailpipes in this lower section looks great for this WRX and the STI. It's just this area here. Why does it stick up this far into the bodywork of the rear end? It's just too much plastic going on there. And I also want to have the taillights be a little bit squintier, so just squish them down a little and stretch them out, maybe stretch them inwards to create a much more wider look for the rear end, not so tall. Now it looks very tall, and that is all because of this big diffuser that we have in the lower section. Now, last but not least, this interior is, I have to say, it is just another reason why I would pick the older STIs, because this area here, when I reviewed these cars, this area, the infotainment screen and these buttons, they also feel very cheap. They don't feel high quality one bit. You have a lot of gloss plastic going all around here. And I'm not a fan of Subaru's infotainment systems these days. I do like the steering wheel and the gauge cluster, because we have a housing for it right here. But look at this. We have two pedals, and this is an STI. Come on, we need to have a manual transmission. I don't think it would have been that hard to just slap the manual in here. You only have 25 more horsepower in the STI, so you can probably still use the same manual that you have in the regular WRX. You don't need to enforce this or make it stronger, but instead we get the CVT for the STI. Again, I want to hear Subaru's decision making here and what went into the decision of putting the CVT in the brand new STI, and also why are they only limiting it to 500 units? This makes me think that Subaru is sort of done. Maybe, I hope not, but I feel like maybe they're done with these internal combustion engine sports cars and are probably focusing more on EVs and hybrid versions, and they just wanted to sort of not really put out a new STI, but since, you know, it's been tradition over the years, and we have a new WRX, let's just put something out and call it an STI. But people who are fans of this car, I don't know what they're gonna think about this car, or if they actually want a CVT in the new in the brand new STI. But personally, I feel like this is not the right way to do it. I would much rather go again with the 2020 WRX STI, both because we have the manual, we have the more advanced all-wheel drive system, and we also have a much better styling, specifically in the rear end.